Okay, so who's been to SeaWorld? Okay, and did you enjoy the experience, or, because I used to go to SeaWorld a lot. That's actually my little sister in the whale outfit. We would go for the educational programs. I was a Girl Scout, and we did a sleepover there. But then I kind of changed my mind about how I felt about SeaWorld. That right there is actually me. Can't really find myself in there. But I've started going to a lot of SeaWorld protests because I realized that they misportray a lot of information that they give you and are not 100% truthful, and it's not really a good organization. So I want to end the captivity. And both sides of the argument have inaccuracies. There's the whole thing, Blackfish. Whenever I tell people I don't like SeaWorld, they're like, oh, she watched Blackfish. Are you a Blackfish advocate? And then SeaWorld has their own story, which isn't necessarily true. So I actually watched Blackfish a lot, and I've researched it a bunch. And SeaWorld is claiming that the trainers didn't actually work with whales or didn't actually work there at the time that the events that they're describing happened, but the trainers are obviously saying that they did, and it's kind of a he said, she said situation. We can't really know who is right or wrong, but it kind of shows that both sides have a little bit of dishonesty to them. And they also have a lot of untrue statements and dramatizations of Blackfish. If you're going for a documentary that is really educational about the things that happen in SeaWorld, Blackfish is a start, but you're gonna need to research a lot more than just that. Now, the SeaWorld's whole inaccuracies, their list is a lot bigger. The collapsed dorsal fins on orcas and their lifespan is a big fib. And the beluga whale lifespan and the dolphin lifespan is also a thing they're kind of not knowledgeable about. So they've claimed that, even on their website, that the collapsed dorsal fin is extremely common in wild orca whales. But if you do your research, 1 to 5% of the wild male population has a collapsed dorsal fin, where 100% of males in captivity have collapsed dorsal fins. And a lot of researchers say that the collapsed dorsal fin is due to the stress of being in their environment. And they also are not very truthful about the lifespan. They say that it has a possibility of 35 years. But more credible biologists and everything say that the males will live 50 to 60 years and the females can live up into their hundreds. And SeaWorld, which I just want you to keep in mind throughout this entire presentation, SeaWorld has been open for 50 years. And if whales even are at least supposed to live 35 years, how if 37 of them died in SeaWorld parks in 50 years? Now, where their 35 years thing is kind of garbage, the oldest orca in captivity is Lolita. There's a lot of stuff about her. She is the oldest whale in captivity, and she has been in the same enclosure for 40 years, just swimming circles. And the oldest whale that they know right now is Granny. She lives off, well, she comes to the coast of Washington, and she is an estimated 103 years old, so that obviously puts their 35 years out the window. And their beluga whale lifespans, we don't have a lot of information about beluga whales, but we know that they are not animals that should be kept in captivity because they can't thrive there. They're extremely prone to getting diseases in captivity. They can live up to like 30 to 50 years in captivity. And so far, with how long SeaWorld has been open, a dozen beluga whales have died in captivity. And currently, if you are into petitions, the Georgia Aquarium wants to import whales, and they say that it's for their breeding program, but there are a lot of people that are saying no. So you can go sign that. And bottlenose dolphins is a really big thing because we have Discovery Cove where you can go and swim with dolphins, and you used to be able to feed dolphins at SeaWorld. And this is my friend. They say on their website, which isn't even just a credible sounding statement, they probably lived 20 years or less. That is taken verbatim from their website. They probably lived 20 years or less. We don't really know, but they probably lived 20 years or less. But they have an estimated 20 to 50 years in captivity and an estimated 40 to 45 years in the wild. And just like I said, keep in mind, Seaworld has only been open for 50 years, yet 245 actually, because a dolphin died a couple weeks ago. 245 dolphins have died there in the past 50 years. So if they're even supposed to live probably 20 years, how have 245 of them died? And they have a lot of other things that they've done. When their orchids are sunburned, they essentially paint over them with black zinc oxide, which zinc oxide is in sunblocks, but most of the time when they are actually put on the whales, it's after they've already been sunburned to cover the sunburn. And they can't do it currently, but back in the 70s, they would import whales, and there are 5 current whales in captivity that were stolen from the ocean. And the whales that were not captured were killed. And there's a little video on this.
You know, big animal still, but I was told because of shipping costs, that's why they would take the little ones.
They had the young ones that they wanted in the corrals, so they dropped the seine nets, and all the others could have left, but they stayed.
And it's been researched a lot that orcas, they care about each other, they form relationships. The males almost never leave their mother's sides. So they wouldn't leave when the babies were being captured.
Well,
They stayed there and they were trying to get through the nets, and they were trying to get to the babies that had been captured. They didn't want to leave them.
I lost it. I mean, I just started crying. I didn't stop.
There's a lot of information that shows that they might be smarter than us. And to just see them trying to get to their babies, even though they're in nets, it's kind of heartbreaking.
It's the worst thing I can think of. You know, I can't think of anything worse than that. Now, this really sounds bad, but when the whole hunt was over, there were 3 dead whales in the net. And so they had Peter and Brian and I cut the whales open, fill them with rocks, put anchors on their tail, and sink them.
They didn't want the people to know that they had killed the whales, and so they cut them open and filled them with rocks and cement and tied anchors to them so they would sink. No one would know that the baby whales had died as a result of them capturing the other ones. And also, another thing like that, the buying dolphins from Taji, Japan, it is this huge slaughter where it's a custom in Japan. They go out and they will herd all of these dolphins by throwing bombs into the water, and they essentially just pick the pretty ones and then kill the rest of them. And this picture is essentially what it looks like after. The water is essentially just red and bloody, and there's dead dolphins everywhere. So the ways you can help, you can educate yourself. You can start with Blackfish, although it might not be that credible. You can watch Lolita, Slave to Entertainment, the whale that's been stuck in the same place swimming circles for 40 years. You can watch The Cove, which is about the dolphins in Taji, and you can join Protest. The lovely group that I'm in is Protest Seaworld Florida on Instagram. We just had a protest yesterday. And there's all of these things that you can do to help, and you can spread information. And this is my favorite quote. If you are neutral in situations of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor. So if you don't do anything about it, even if it's like reblogging something or sharing a status on Facebook or making a presentation, information is really valuable. And I hope that now that you've seen my speech, will go and you will think differently.